Will Edwards here with Business Today. We're going to start, in fact, in France, a controversial government effort to save jobs in industry.
Yeah, the government managed to reach a deadline on a Friday night to save a steelworks in the northwest of France, but it's come at a heavy cost. The Industrial Renewal Minister has managed to offend a number of key companies by talking about nationalisation plans, while despite 600 jobs being saved, even the unions don't seem to be very happy. Let's take a look at why that is.
There will be no immediate job losses at the Florange steel plant, but there was no celebration among the workers as they heard the news at the weekend.
The only alternative, the only solution possible was nationalisation.
That was the threat that was hanging over ArcelorMittal if the steel giant kept to its plan of permanently closing the blast furnaces and making over 600 employees redundant. To avoid a state takeover, boss Lakshmi Mittal has now dropped that idea and instead promises to invest €180 million over the next 5 years. But unions have expressed their scepticism, as have local politicians.
I have huge doubts in Lakshmi Mittal, and I'm afraid that once again he has fooled the French government because he has never kept his promises.
I have to ask myself how trustworthy the words of Lakshmi Mittal are. He's always making announcements, announcing investments, but not keeping his promises.
The French ecology minister has also said she has no confidence in ArcelorMittal, and even the Minister for Industrial Renewal, who was one of the lead negotiators in the deal, has blasted Lakshmi Mittal for reneging on earlier promises and humiliating European governments. The minister had earlier accused the steel tycoon of blackmailing France. The government says nationalisation is still on the table if ArcelorMittal fails to hold up its end of the bargain.
Got some more economic difficulties. This time it's for the British government.
Yeah, on Sunday, the Finance Minister, George Osborne, he said that it's going to take longer than planned to fix the British economy. The government is expected now to miss its target of getting national debt coming downwards by 2015. It's still going to be shooting up at that stage, according to a report. But the Chancellor said it's too late to turn back on austerity plans, which is what the opposition want him to do. Let's take a listen.
It's clearly taking longer to deal with Britain's debts. It's clearly taking longer to recover from the financial crisis than anyone would have hoped. But we've made real progress. The deficit is down by a quarter. There are 1 million more jobs in the private sector. And to turn back now, to go back to the borrowing and the debt and the spending that Ed Balls represents would be a complete disaster for our country.
Yeah, George Osborne there. It does sound like the UK could do with raising more tax revenue, and there's a report out today, isn't there?
Yes, over the last few weeks, of course, we've heard this quite a bit in the news about multinational companies, how much tax they pay in the countries they actually operate in. Now, for instance, Amazon, the retailer, pays less than 1% tax, or did pay less than 1% tax on its €250 million turnover in the UK. MPs are going to be publishing a report today which says the companies have been practicing immoral tax evasion, getting off the hook. Not illegal, of course, being the crucial thing. And they've also criticised the tax authorities themselves for not chasing hard enough to get these companies to pay up.
So what are they going to try and do about it then?
Well, the government says it's going to boost the amount of money that the tax authorities get to actually deal with this. £77 million, they reckon, will net them £2 billion in return in increased efficiencies and increased takings. They're also expected to raise £5 billion through a deal with the Swiss to see what goes on a bit more detail in Swiss bank accounts. But it does reckon, the government reckons the best way to deal with this is internationally, multilaterally. They've been working with France and Germany in particular to try and get this on the agenda. And of course, the publicity hasn't hurt either. Starbucks over the weekend, just ahead of this report, they said that they're going to be re-evaluating their tax plans in the UK with a view to paying more.
OK, let's talk about the markets then, how they do today.
Well, it's been a bit of a mixed picture in Asia. Let's take a look at how things have closed there first. There has been quite a bit of good confidence manufacturing data coming out of China, but despite that, you can see that the Hang Seng in Hong Kong and the Shanghai Composite have both finished in the red. That's on wider fears, really, about the Chinese economy and, of course, worries about the fiscal cliff in the US, which is looming ever closer. Still no agreement over the weekend on that. Meanwhile, the European market's just opening up at the moment, and they've got a bit more of a spring in their step, as you can see, just about all up in the green there so far.
OK, we're going to talk Christmas now here on France 24. Will doesn't care about Christmas. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Will.
Thank you very much, Stuart.
Everyone watching, 28 again. I'm not going to give his real age. Christmas, let's get back to it, on the horizon. Toy makers here in France, they're ramping up production. Based in the Jura region, they're doing everything they can to compete with goods that are made in China, as Siobhan Silk explains.
This peaceful valley in southeastern France is where Christmas dreams come true. But at Smoby, France's leading toy maker, there are no elves at work. Here, it's state-of-the-art automated machinery that makes the high-quality cars, slides and play kitchens. The company has invested millions of euros in robotic technology. It's saved Smoby, which 5 years ago was on the brink of bankruptcy.
Our Chinese competitors have a much larger workforce. We compensate for that with automation and robots. That's what's made the difference.
But competition from Asia continues to hurt manufacturers in France's Toy Valley. So this high-end toy maker has decided to go another way. The machinery in Villac's factory is old school. The company makes playthings from wood, not plastic. The manufacturing process has barely changed in a century, but Villac invests a great deal of time and money in product design and development.
Every year, we introduce an enormous number of new toys. That's our main weapon. The design has to be very striking and high quality.
Not every toy maker can afford to keep up with the competition. In the workshop he took over from his father, Jerry Durafurg handcrafts wooden toys. But these days, it's impossible to make a living.
It was a wonderful trade, but you can't see it as a trade anymore.
Cherry worries there'll be no more craft toy makers after him, but he's still hoping for a Christmas miracle.
Got a little bit of company news now. We could be seeing a shake-up. This is at Virgin Airlines.
Yeah, now Singapore Airlines actually has a 49% stake in the Virgin Atlantic carrier, worth around $600 million, it's thought. Now, reports are that it's going to be selling that. It's in talks to sell its stake. So the interested party apparently is America's Delta Airlines. They're keen to get their hands on it because that would give them access to London Heathrow, of course, one of the busiest airports in the world where slots are particularly difficult to come by. British Airways, of course, the biggest operator out of Heathrow, but Virgin Atlantic in second place. So Delta are hoping to get their foot in the door there, reportedly, but we'll hopefully have that confirmed later today.
OK, of course, the business team here at France 24 will be across that during the day. Now, why could Greece's former Prime Minister be in hot water? This is over his family's tax affairs, is that right?
Well, this is over quite an explosive story in Greece, which has been rumbling on for a while now. But a few years back, actually, the French government gave Greece a list of nationals with Swiss bank accounts, and more recently they've been investigating this list for possible tax evasion and money laundering links. Now, according to two Greek newspapers, the name of George Papandreou's mother came up in these investigations and has been mentioned in court documents. She is apparently one of the account holders being investigated, allegedly with an account worth 550 million euros, an incredible amount. Her husband, of course, was a Greek leader himself, George Papandreou's father. So, I mean, the family has, I should firmly point out, denied these allegations. But obviously, at this time of austerity in Greece, the idea of leaders having that sort of amount of money stashed away in a Swiss bank account, if those allegations were proved true, would be very explosive, of course.
OK, well, I'm sure there's a few journalists trying to find out a little bit more about that in Greece as we speak. William Edwards with the business news here on France 24. Now, just before I go, we've just been getting some news coming into us. Very little information at the moment, to be honest, but I'll give you what we have, that Israeli troops have killed a Palestinian with an axe. Now, this apparently has happened near Nablus, and it's coming from Israeli police. It's the second Palestinian to have died since the truce, of course, was brokered last week by Egypt after the bombardment of Gaza. This is Israeli troops killing a Palestinian near Nablus. Of course, Cyril Vanier will bring you more on that as we get it here at France 24. He'll have the latest after the break.